Hello.
Whatto?
You all right?
Yeah.
Good.
You all right?
All good.
Welcome to episode 6. Is it?
Is it?
Shut up,
Bluebell
is it?
Notes. Yeah, it is episode 6. Happy
God.
New Year.
Yeah,
Yes,
Happy New Year.
we can still say that. We are late in January, but
Yeah.
our feeling is that we can keep going with that until
June.
It's weird. I generally do go till about March. When I see people
Yeah.
that I haven't seen for the first time in the year, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
This year, I've hardly said it to anybody. I don't know why. It's just almost
you don't
like it didn't
actually
occur
want
to
anybody
me.
to have a happy
You
New
have just
Year.
said it to a million listeners. now.
Well, 1,000,003 with us three here as well. So,
Yeah.
so we're in the post-Christmas longest month of the year, obviously.
Yeah.
January can be tough, can't it? January. 87 days, is it? Or something like that?
Oh, did you see the
Yeah.
Brian Bilston poem about that?
No.
It was a take on the 30 days of September and all that.
I
and then
did.
and then it was like, and January has 1,654.
yeah. That sounds about right.
It's
He's
really
very good. He's spot on, isn't he? Bro? We
Yeah.
love Brian Bilston. I didn't make it to the last Bluebell Roots. I
No,
wasn't
lightweight.
feeling very well. I have to say, and I'm not exaggerating, I was feeling crap. I was absolutely rubbish. So,
But we had a lovely time without you.
that's good.
We did,
I'm glad to
yes.
know that that's possible.
Yeah, we kind of missed you in a funny kind of way.
Oh, that's sweet. Very sweet of you. Thank you. Yeah, you had lots of lovely people come
We
and
did.
play. You did rather than having a special guest, because it's our Christmas one. We normally do like an everybody.
Yeah,
all
it was
together
our
kind of
it was
thing.
our Twixtmas one.
Yes,
wasn't
it was our delayed Twixmas one because
Yeah, well, you were ill,
we were
weren't
ill.
you?
Yeah.
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 We couldn't make that one, so it was put off for a week.
Yeah.
So it was actually a 12th night.
So who did you have anyway?
So
You can
we
tell me about it.
had Bill and Jenny,
Yep.
John and Di,
Lovely.
Andy Melrose,
Now Andy did something with somebody else, didn't he? As well?
with Kathy
With Kathy
Yeah.
from Two's Company.
from Two's Company.
Yep.
So we also had Two's Company, and we had Jim and Emma, Keo Namara.
Lovely. Who we're going to hear a bit from a bit later.
Yeah, Bruce and Carolyn, Dave Mantle, Lisa and Jason, and Nigel Horn.
So a lot is rather than whereas we normally have 5 or 6 kind of floor spots, it was floor spots all night. Really,
It was,
effectively.
yeah.
Yeah,
And,
it was really great, wasn't it?
We had 2 rounds, didn't we? Everybody did 2, and
Yep.
then some people who were happy to stay on at the end
Yeah.
did an extra one at the end as well.
Lovely. And
Oh,
food?
of course, we had the 3 J's.
Ah,
Jade got up and
yeah.
played her.
It's the Milton Hyde supergroup.
What's the little instrument she played?
A little banjo.
Little
thing.
banjo.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, way.
Strummed
Yeah.
along on the banjo.
Lovely.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
not
it was
seen,
a
I've seen
blast.
Jade play the cajon, but no, I haven't seen her play
No,
anything
stringed
else.
instruments we've moved on to.
Excellent
And
stuff.
food. Yes, there was food.
Food good as
Yeah,
well.
lovely
Nice.
food.
So a nice sort of post-New Year
It was
kind
great.
of chilled out evening.
Yeah, the
Lovely.
fire was
Yeah.
going. It was just very nice indeed, wasn't it?
Excellent stuff. We'll talk a bit about what's coming up. We're going to talk about online presence for bands and how people sort of put themselves out there and promote themselves. So that's going to be our sort of main theme for today, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the sort of future of Bluebell Roots, what's happening this year, some of the guests we've got coming up, all right after this. So we announced last year that we're changing our time for Bluebell Roots, so it's going to be the first Sunday of the month rather
is,
than the
yeah.
last Sunday of the
Yeah.
month, except for one Sunday this year.
Yeah.
Can't do things simply,
No.
which is May. May's going to have 2 Bluebell Roots, one at the beginning, one at the end.
Well, May's gonna have the June Bluebell Roots. in it,
Essentially, yes.
basically
Yes, a
moving
week
right
early.
a week forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's 2 bank holiday weekends in May, isn't it? So it is. It
We're
sort
gonna
of works
use
out
both of
quite
them.
well. Yeah, absolutely. And a cracking list of guests for February, a week's time. Well, the end of this week, essentially, as we
Yeah.
record this. Erica Olsen. Tell us a little bit about Erica Olsen.
Oh, we've known Erica for some while now. We met her at the Wick Street Festival in 2023.
Yeah.
We've been sort of mates ever since, haven't we? Really bumped
Yeah.
into her at various places and various occasions and events.
I think we'd heard her before then at the Six Bells.
But she's a fantastic singer-songwriter with amazing voice. Sort of smooth bluesy voice.
Lovely.
Bluesy-ish Americana
Lovely
songs.
stuff.
Yeah, really nice.
You can check her out if you want to have a listen and see what Erica does before you book your tickets for Bluebell Roots. Then EricaOlsenmusic.com. I mean, that's if this podcast gets out before Sunday.
Yeah, Erica with a K.
Erica with a K, indeed. Erika Olsen, which is, what is it, Danish, is it? Or Swedish, maybe? I don't know.
American.
Oh, okay, all right, fair enough. Well, they're all Europeans, essentially. Right, good stuff. We've got Joe Topping coming up in March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe's a great singer-songwriter, an amazing voice, and in fact, he was on The Voice and got the thumbs up, got the seat turned around by Sir Tom himself.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to shake his hand in that case because he'll have shaken the hand of Tom Jones.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Sure he
yeah.
would have done. That's great. And then we're going along with the policy of an Erica every other month. Erica Steenkamp.
Yes.
I'm going to go Dutch with Steenkamp, but we'll have to ask her.
Kind of South African.
South African, okay, so there'll be some Dutch heritage there, won't there? Yeah, but Steenkamp, very Dutch.
Yeah,
doesn't
again,
it?
lovely, really lovely singer-songwriter that we met at Chris Kenniger's.
Okay, live at Thornset Road. Polly Morris on the 1st of the May, Bluebell Roots, and John Ward Trio on the 25th of May. We'll preview these in a bit more detail nearer the time. And then Donna Canale. I'm obsessed with the surnames here because obviously Canale, Italian. If you spoke to Donna, you'd never know. She got this lovely Scottish accent.
It's Italian for canal, I think.
It could be, couldn't it? Yeah. Canale. The Canale Grande, the Grand Canal in Venice. Brilliant. So, yeah, check out bluebellroots.co.uk for all the details of that. We're also going to be moving home as well. We're going to be from March or April?
April. From
the April Bluebell Roots. Yeah, tell us about where we're going to be heading.
Oh, we're going just round the corner from where we are now. If anybody, for those who have been to Bluebell Roots, they'll know that we are near Arlington on Bates Green Farm, and we are going to be moving to a larger venue, which has still got a kitchen.
Lovely.
So we will still have Philippa.
But we're going to be moving to Arlington Village Hall.
It's a perfect place. Great for parking as well.
Great for
nice
parking,
and easy.
loads of parking.
Yep.
It's going to be a little bit more comfortable because Bluebell Roots, when we started, we all thought, oh, this is lovely and cosy and great.
Yeah.
And then we had COVID and people got a little bit more twitchy about getting quite as cosy as we were.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit
more room to spread
out. And equally, we'll be able to increase the audience size.
Indeed, yeah, which will be great.
And have larger a performance area.
Yes, definitely.
So at the moment we're really limited to duos, aren't we?
Yeah,
and possibly three.
Yeah.
But we could have actually.
Oh, we can go 10-piece. I want the Hot 8 brass band at some point this year, but that'll be great. Right, brilliant. Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit about online presence coming right up after this. I love that one. That one just goes around my head all day after we've recorded the podcast. It's really, really nice. So, you have a website. You have social media presence. For what I do for work, social media is really important for me, and it's something that we have all got used to over the last, let's say, 15 years or more, I guess, realistically, since sort of Facebook came around in the late noughties, and we all hopped on, and our lives changed because of it, and it's very much my children have grown up with it. And didn't know a time when there wasn't social media and they were desperate to get on it as soon as they were in their teens and so on. But for a lot of people, our attitudes towards it are changing at the moment, aren't they? We've seen a lot of people, for example, leaving X, as it was Twitter, or Twix as I call it, since Elon Musk took over. Because it's become, for a lot of people, feeling it's kind of quite a toxic place.
Yes.
So I think it's good to talk through, actually, not just the social media side of things, but kind of how, as a band, and we can really obviously only use you two as an example for this because you're the only band we've got in the podcast studio this morning. Where do you go? What's your sort of starting point for your online presence, and how does it, how does it affect what you do? Yeah,
well, I think let's examine why, without getting too political, why people are, especially on liberal-minded people, perhaps, might be considering becoming inactive on the two big platforms. which are X and Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's face it. You've got
Meta,
you've got
which is Facebook
Meta,
and
yeah.
Instagram.
Let's say Meta and X. I think for us personally, we're finding that it's a massive distraction. B, it's made us lazy in terms of looking at other channels and other things that we should be doing.
Yeah,
It's
you
made
think,
us.
you think I'll just share the fact that I'm playing this gig and everybody will see it, and it's not the case.
It's made us less creative in terms
Yeah.
of promoting ourselves.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we are creative people.
Yeah.
And we just like all the time. We just like, oh, we haven't made an event for this yet, or we haven't been pushing this event around all these groups that. And at the end of the day, you're held hostage to algorithms.
Yes.
And if you don't do it at the right place, if you don't use the right words, if you don't, if you've done
Posted at
the
the
wrong
right
thing,
time even.
Yeah.
you don't get seen.
No, you're shouting at the same time as everybody else. You're not going to be heard.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there is the political aspect, and our politics are towards the left. X, for instance, has been taken over by Musk some years ago, and we know that that's not a nice place to be because it's very negative in terms of it's very polarizing.
Yeah.
We're finding it very well. Both Meta and X are very divisive.
Yeah.
Because the whole sort of reason for it being there is to make you react to something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you'll be shown something that the algorithms know you disagree with.
That's right.
So that you can put a comment on there.
And as you say, it has. I think it's changed the way that we interact with one another, possibly even in person as well as online.
Yeah.
Because we didn't used to interact online. You might have sent an email, and it was like sending a letter.
Yeah.
That was the first sort of way that we did it. But then Web 2.0, as they called it in the early days, with forums and bulletin boards and things like that, sort of started people chatting.
Yeah.
And this is the ultimate sort of extension of that.
Yeah.
And what it's done is, as you say, it's polarized people.
Yeah.
We're just finding it's really bad for our mental health.
It is a shame to turn our backs on it because it's been a really brilliant way to keep in touch with friends
Yeah.
and family.
And rediscover old friends, actually. There's certainly been positive aspects like that for me, for
But
sure.
we just need to do more of that in person, don't we?
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
we
need
do,
to
yeah.
call people up. We need to meet up for a drink somewhere.
COVID didn't
or-
help with that, though, actually, either,
No,
did it?
that's
Because
true.
actually that forced everybody away from one another. And
Yeah.
the saving grace at the time
Yep.
was like we could stay in touch online. Whether
Yeah.
it's a Zoom
Yep.
call, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's an online bingo game or quiz with your mates from the pub that you used to go out with. That was how it went. And that really, in a way, cemented things for the social media companies.
I would encourage people to have a listen to Mark Zuckerberg's statement about the fact-checking thing that they're doing away with.
Very interesting.
It's a really interesting listen and quite disturbing in that, fact-checking on Facebook. I mean, that's pathetic anyway.
Yeah.
Forget that. But it was his explanation as to why they've done that and the other moves that they're taking.
Yeah.
And dressing up in, this freedom of speech
Freedom
stuff.
of speech, yeah.
Free expression,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And why it's a fundamental right.
Have you seen the film Ready Player One?
No.
Okay,
No.
so it's it was a children's book, actually, to start with, but basically it's about a time in an unspecified near future, a dystopian sort of view of what might be the case. So everybody almost lives in a virtual world.
Yeah.
It's all related to the gaming world, and the film shows actually how everybody has then become reliant on it.
Yeah.
You have to be in it in order to exist. So it's quite dystopian.
That seems. I mean, that's where we're heading,
Yeah.
Yes.
isn't
Yeah.
it? That's
Yeah.
what you're getting at.
We were thinking, how are we going to survive turning our backs on these? social
Yeah,
medias?
it's quite scary.
This
platforms.
it seems in the film that you basically, if you want a job, then you've got to be
Yeah.
in this sort of metaverse
Yeah.
in order to live. It's a good watch. It's funny, and it's got some cracking 80s references in it, and it's
have to have a look at that.
it's redemptive at the end. Obviously, there's a great finish to it, and for the gaming nerds, there's lots of great gaming stuff in it as well. But the whole idea is that is where these worlds could be going. These sort of, and Zuckerberg is particularly keen on the metaverse, hence calling it Meta and so on as well. So
one of the other things that happens is that as an independent musician, and this happens in general life as well, this aspect of seeing everybody having a better time than you seem to be having, leading a better life, having a better car, having all this stuff. The way that shows itself up to us is we see people playing amazing gigs to like full houses, and of course the reality is that we you go along to do a gig and you'll have a lovely time, we enjoy playing, performing, but the reality is there might be half the number of people there that people might perceive from our post saying, oh, we had a brilliant time at in front of this amazing audience at such and such a venue, wonderful response.
The media almost expects you to fake it till you make it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, I've done exactly the same. I have at DJ gigs, I have photographed, say, my booth from the dance floor side, but I've stepped back from the dance floor and then zoomed in so that the people look a lot closer together.
We all do it.
And
we all do it. We don't want to be shown in front of an empty room.
No,
or empty seat. So it's just not good for the soul to see that kind of stuff and to share that stuff. So that's another aspect of why we're leaving, is it?
I think it's not necessarily leaving, as we were talking sort of before we were recording this. But what you're going to do, you're going to maintain a presence, but you're going to be inactive on those sites. And I think, and perhaps use those sites as signposts to go elsewhere and find out more about Milton Hyde elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's one of the ways you can do that, and it's probably if you're into not necessarily supporting the platform, it's really important not to click on those links. If you spot a venue or an artist or something, don't click on the link there, because that encourages the algorithms and it all feeds into the data. So it's probably better to come outside of that platform and just seaching for it on using Google
or any one of an enormous number of other search engines that are out there. I mean, one of the ones that seems to be being promoted a lot lately is DuckDuckGo, isn't it? Have you not heard of DuckDuckGo? So it's one that doesn't record what you've clicked on and where you've been and what you've searched for. It doesn't keep your data. There must be some other way they're making money, so it'd be interesting to look into that and find out, well, what's the thing behind that, because they've been advertising on TV lately, so they've obviously got some money on how to do it. But there are various other search engines other than that. But like you say, actually to sort of look for the thing you're looking for rather than going via the link in the social media. So where is it that you are going to where would people find Milton Hyde's sort of presence online, if we're not going to be finding you sharing lots of stuff on social media?
Well, we've got lots of different platforms that we have our music on, or our videos, or blog posts. The main one is our website, miltonhyde.com. And we haven't recently, but we are going to start putting more blog posts on there. Yeah, we'll actually write about gigs.
And you've done a bit of that in the past, haven't you?
We did.
Certainly...
Well, for last year when we were doing our 60 by 60 challenge, I wrote 60 blog posts about all of the gigs, every gig we did.
So that's more than one a week.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty healthy.
But for the last couple of weeks we haven't done
But of course you don't... What you don't get is the interaction.
No. But we can do. We will enable comments so that we can get comments back on that.
When blogging was a thing, wasn't it? Really, sort of again Well, early days of Facebook,
Yeah.
people were still blogging, and sites like obviously WordPress was the big one where you could set up your blog site, but there were all sorts of other things. I mean, and that's when Twitter came in. It was known as a micro blogging site. That
Yeah,
was
that's
how
true.
it was
Yeah, it was,
promoted
yeah.
because you could only type 140
Yeah.
characters, and in its early days. It was phenomenal.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was, and it did have this feeling that it was not part of the establishment.
Yeah.
You were hearing stories from around the world from people. News was breaking there before it was broken by the major media outlets and things like that. And that's what. And then I used it in my teaching career. We built networks of teachers who were sharing brilliant practice. They were having arranging meetups and things like this, and it was actually, from a professional point of view, it worked really, really well. Obviously, it's gone a different way, but yeah. So blogging is something people are starting to move back towards it, I think, and starting to post things, almost having outside of the social media a way to still interact with people, but it requires people who perhaps specifically sought you out.
Yes.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? That we're sort of coming to terms with is, yes, we're not going to get we don't get the potential for mass coverage that we would expect to have through Facebook or potentially have through social media. You know, you're not going to be putting yourself in front of thousands of people, because by definition you're going to be putting yourself in front of thousands of people that aren't interested in you.
Precisely.
Anyway.
So we want to just connect with the people who are interested.
Yeah. So we're just trying to be a little bit more clever about it.
So as opposed to casting your net wide, it's more a case of where you're casting your net.
Yeah.
As opposed
to we've got a mailing list, and we'll encourage at all of our gigs and everywhere we go, encourage people to sign up to the mailing list, because every time we put a blog post up, we can say we'll either send an email or we'll just send out a monthly email and say, here's the sort of little list of the blogs we put up. Click on it if you want to have a read.
And websites are still a thing, aren't they? You know, you'd have thought it might have gone that a lot of artists would go down the route of, okay, I'm just going to stick with social media, and a lot of artists do that, but they still major mainstream artists still maintain websites full of info, tour dates, bios, extra stuff that people can find, music you can download, little extra bits and so on. And so people are still maintaining those. Yeah. So that's obviously, like you say, you're still going to be maintaining your website.
And if we want to get a gig somewhere, then we need to have a website with all of the information on that somebody
a central
wants
place
to book
that people can find out about what you do.
Yeah, all your sort of biography stuff.
But what else is there? Because obviously, I mean, as well as your website, I know one of the big things for a lot of musicians, particularly roots musicians, is Bandcamp. Bandcamp has, I think a lot of people only have positive things to say about Bandcamp in terms of how it works for artists compared to, say, streaming platforms, because people can buy your music, download it immediately. Are they still doing Bandcamp Fridays every now and again?
I think
yes,
so,
yeah, they are. Yeah.
So that basically every penny that somebody spends on that day goes straight into your income.
What you can do on Bandcamp is you can go on there and find the artists that you like, and you can follow them, and then you'll be notified every time they put new music up.
Yeah.
And you can listen to the music without downloading it before you download it.
Yeah.
Essentially, what we're going to try doing is kind of going back to basics a little bit, and back in the day, you'd be putting posters up for people to see in shop windows and stuff. Now, people don't use shops in the same way as they
running
used
them
to.
off on the Gestet now on the
back. Oh, you tell the kids today, they wouldn't believe you.
No, yeah, absolutely. The duplicator. Yeah. They briefly made a comeback with the risograph. Did you know about the risograph? It was
the Rizzlograph?
Risograph.
Oh, right, okay.
Or risograph.
It's like printing on cigarette paper.
It was like a big machine, like a photocopier, but it used duplicator technology. So you had to make a stencil, and then you could print as many copies as you like, and it was like a penny a copy, because we, as teachers, we loved it because it was a cheaper way, because we were always getting told off of printed worksheets on the photocopier.
Talking of sort of photocopying, one of the things we're going to be doing, and again, people just don't do it, is we're going to go a little bit more homespun is our plan, isn't it, at gigs? Yeah. And some of our merch we're going to start making ourselves.
Right.
Because we are, we're sort of, we can draw and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you are
people.
creative.
Yeah. And inspired by our late friend Jamie Freeman. We're going to
Yeah.
do a zine.
Oh, I was just it came into my mind,
Yeah,
the zine, actually.
we're going to do a zine.
Jamie went all
start doing
punk,
that.
didn't he, with
He
one
did.
of his later releases?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did a punk zine, all pink and black and white. It was
Yeah.
So
fun.
yeah, we've been inspired by Jamie. We're going to do that. So we're just going to try just doing things the way. Essentially, just want to do things the way that we want to do them.
Hello, Ezra. Well,
Hey, Ezra.
My son's just arrived home.
And we're also
Ezra, say hello to the world.
Hello, world.
we're also going to go busking more often,
Ah,
and not necessarily to get any cash in, but just to promote ourselves.
yeah.
To get out there and have a little QR code for our website and
But
help
then,
people discover us.
the way it works is also you have to film yourselves busking and then
Yes.
post all of that everywhere.
yeah,
as well.
so yeah, again, YouTube will be making a bit more of ourselves on
There's
YouTube.
a sort of new funk band, I think a London-based funk band called High Fade, and I get a lot of their stuff in various feeds that I have. And they busk, they like Leicester Square or whatever,
Yeah.
just drums, bass, guitar, and they're very high energy funk, and that's been brilliant because it's made me go and buy their music.
Yeah.
I bought their stuff from
good,
Bandcamp
yeah.
from seeing those busking posts.
Yeah. So I mean, there's sort of two things with this is because we're not going to be, we're not going to be playing the Albert Hall anytime soon. So we
Couple
can
of years.
couple of years
Yeah.
maybe, but I think you have to. We were told a couple of years ago by a lovely mentor that we need to build our tribe, and we've kind of forgotten that a bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
We need to build the people who get us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people just have forgotten,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
because we have, rather than like chucking this net out here and saying, is there anybody out there that might like this?
Yeah.
We're going to actually be more actively searching for the people that get
Gotcha.
it, I guess,
And-
by
Yeah.
doing this sort of stuff. So although
Well,
we're doing the
They seem to
homespun
like that,
stuff,
so maybe they.
Yeah.
so although we're doing the homespun stuff, which is very, that will be very localized because it will be at
Niche.
gigs and stuff. Of course, what we will be doing is we'll be like putting them on the website and blogging about it
Yeah.
and doing all that stuff. So you're doing it into, you're doing both the grassroots stuff,
Yeah.
but then putting that out there as well at the
absolutely.
same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned, actually, I think that fits in quite well with Patreon, doesn't it? Because that Patreon is a website which is specifically designed for your tribe, isn't it? So the
Yeah.
people who have chosen to follow you, to like you, and to be really interested in what you're doing and want to find out more, Patreon is a great site for that. It's a source of income potentially as well
Yeah.
for bands, isn't it? If people want to subscribe, I don't know how that works. Well, how does that work with Patreon?
You have different tiers, so you can follow somebody for free because often people will put up regular free posts anyway. But then you have different tiers that you can join. So you might pay, say, £3 a month, and you get a sort of reward from that,
Okay.
which might be a digital download or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can go up to all sorts of different levels. You can go up to £150 where you get to attend a workshop once a year or something like that. So
Right, okay.
it's like a crowdfunder kind of
I understand.
thing that you get those rewards.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's taking the place of a traditional fan club.
It is,
Yeah.
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 They are really good. I mean, I'm still on there and still follow a lot of people, but we took our page down last year while we were doing the 60 by 60 gigs because everything was getting a little bit too much.
Overwhelming.
But I think if we're putting regular blog posts, we would just do the same thing on Patreon. We're going to do it as a free one to start with, and then gradually build up those tiers as we decide what we want to give back to people.
Well, that seems fair enough. Now, in our pre-pod chat, we mentioned SEO, which to me is a short-eared owl. I'm a casual birder. But SEO is something which is possibly quite important for people, but they might not really understand what it is. Now, you, as well as band stuff, you do website development as well.
Yes.
You do a bit of that. So
it's
what is it?
Search engine optimization.
Okay, all right.
So
So
it's a way
it's
of-
like sounds like a way you can tune your search engine, but it's actually about making the website more
Yeah.
visible, is it?
Yes. Oh, it's
More findable.
initially the idea is to make it a better user experience when somebody lands on the website, so that they want to stay there.
Yeah.
But it's also about making your website findable.
Okay.
So if somebody's searching for not just you, but your area that you're working in, that you will appear on that list when they're searching.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody searches for Milton Hyde, the chances are they'll come up with Milton Jones before they come up with Milton Hyde.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Or, something to sterilise your baby bottles or something,
Yes.
So it's just making sure that, if somebody is looking for you, then they're going to find you.
Right. Okay. So that's sort of one aspect of the website thing. We mentioned mailing lists. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah, that's
really.
kind of a big one for independent artists. This movement has kind of been led by a couple of artists that we follow, that have been really encouraging people to subscribe to their mailing lists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Johnny Campbell, who played Bluebell Roots, and other artists that we
Grace
follow.
Petrie.
Grace has been doing it as well.
How does it work? What happens?
Well, essentially, it's that thing about you might have, I think we've got 800 followers on Facebook currently. Now, probably out of those 800 and something followers, realistically, there might be 100 who are genuinely interested in what we're up to,
and others that might be friends and family
have just got the invitation and clicked I'll follow you, and then turn off the notifications after that.
And then there's a percentage of those that will see what you're putting up. Percentage of those that are interested in that particular thing,
and might react.
Percentage of those that will actually action it.
So effectively, you gain a subscribe. Okay, we did a gig on Friday, and we got half a dozen new subscribers to our mailing list.
Hello to Bird in the Belly, we should say.
Hello to all the gang. They were fantastic. But each one of those subscribers on that basis is probably worth 50 followers on Facebook.
Right, okay. Yeah. Because you're going to send something directly to them. That is going to appear in their inbox.
Yeah. And they might unsubscribe at some point. Sure. But largely, they're, we saw those people, last month or something. They're going to be there. So I think that's much more. And they might be spreading on social media. Who knows?
Yeah.
Taking a video at a gig or whatever, and that's all well and good. That's that's fine.
Well, I was going to say what we're doing is we're going to be following a lot of other musicians, joining their mailing lists. We'll have a special mailbox where we put all of those, so that we can sort of go through them once a week and see what everybody's up to. And that's it is a way of networking, isn't it?
It's sort of passive networking in a way, because you're not actually talking to those people.
Well,
you're sort of seeing what's going on, but you can actually get back to them and say,
you can respond directly.
How did you find this venue? If you're a musician, that's a really important thing, to get word of mouth recommendations from other people.
Well, it is a funny one.
Once you open that conversation, but once you open that conversation, they say, it was fab. Do you want me to put you in touch with who runs the venue or someone? So
that is the nice thing about this sector. We were saying earlier, you could see your peers as competitors. And in a sense, we are all competitive, competing for slots, for a limited amount of slots.
Sure.
But equally, it's a very supportive community.
Yeah,
and
the music community is.
It really is, and we do share gigs, and we do share contacts, and that's what makes it vibrant, and that's kind of the main reason we do it. To be honest, we've met some amazing people doing this stuff.
It's not, I'm not a musician, but having spent a lot of time in gigs and doing obviously Bluebell Roots and going to gigs over the last 10, 20 years or more, it's certainly smaller gigs I'm talking about, not like when I was kind of growing up and going to Wembley Arena and things like that. You notice it's not a competitive environment. There are people love to collaborate, bring other people up on stage and say, we work together and we've released this single and so on, and we happen to be in their hometown, so let's do that, and that, which is very positive. It's not competitive, and you don't feel like you're fighting for a space. But perhaps, I don't know.
Well, you kind of are, in the sense that you see a venue, you say, we'd really like to play that venue. Of course, that venue has a limited amount of there's only 365 days a year.
Yeah, that's true.
Top. That's as many gigs as they can put on. And there are many more than 365 artists out there trying to get those slots.
And similarly with Bluebell Roots, we're the same. We have 12 gigs a year. And so that there's a limit in that sense. So there may be an element of, we can only fit so many people in, as it were.
But you're not competing. You're not sort of saying, I'm better than them, or, we're better than them, or, whatever. You're saying, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Do you like it? Do you think it will fit in with that audience? So it is different, I think.
Okay.
in
Yeah.
that
So
sense.
one of the things, talking about that, one of the things about keeping our accounts on social media is that when you approach somewhere to get a gig, one of the things they want to know is how many followers you've got.
Right.
And I've looked at other musicians, they might have a lot of followers, but they're not active.
Right.
And you think it probably doesn't matter how active you are. As long as you've got those followers on there, that seems to make a difference to when you're getting a
Yeah.
booking or not.
That's interesting.
And it is interesting. And also, if you then say, we've got this many people on our mailing list and this many interactions.
You've got additional info on top of just what the
Yeah.
followers are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different message, isn't it? Actually,
is,
it's
yeah.
a much more positive message.
And you could
Yeah.
actually say to a promoter or a venue owner, actually, well, we have this many, but we also have this,
Yeah.
in terms of the mailing list, and we interact with people this way. This is how it is on our Patreon,
Yeah.
and this is what we get on our blog, and so on. So it's different. So in a way, you're sort of saying, actually, it's a bit too simplistic just to look at the number of followers.
Yeah.
But it's useful to have that there
Yeah.
to back up, and it will help you
Yeah.
perhaps
Yeah.
a foot in the door.
Also, we don't want to lose contact with those people.
Yeah.
If they suddenly think, oh yeah, I remember them, I'll check them back out on Facebook. We don't want to have disappeared.
No.
We want that little holding post to be there saying, sorry, we're not here at the moment.
Yep.
Find us,
well,
us
and
here or here.
the irony is, of course, that there will be venues up there and promoters that rely heavily now on social media.
To
Yeah.
promote the event.
And they will be wanting us to spread that information about that event or that gig, that festival,
Right.
which is absolutely fair enough. Now, right now, we would chuck it on Facebook, put it on all the different groups and so on. But actually, what difference does it make? I don't know. Whereas if you send it out, if you push it out through your own platforms to people who are genuinely interested,
Yeah.
surely that's more valuable.
I guess it's about the hit rate on social
Yeah.
media by comparison. Because
Yeah.
I've certainly attended events that I've seen advertised on Facebook,
Yeah.
no doubt. How many other people saw that event advertised? How well sort of saturated was it? Was it aimed in the right places? And
Yeah.
so on. And the algorithm does something towards getting that to the right people, I suppose. But you've just got no idea as an artist how that's working and who it's going to. Have you really? You've got
We've
no...
tried using paid promotions,
Yeah.
and unless you really know what you're doing, it can be
Yeah.
just money down the drain.
Yeah.
And we've certainly wasted money on it.
Go on, Tracy. Sorry.
So I was just going to say another thing we're going to do, getting away from the social media and the online presence, is we're going to be contacting local papers and printed what's on guides, so that if we're doing a gig in say the Midlands, we'll try and find the actual other outlets in
Where
those
do people
areas.
look in those
Yeah.
areas?
Yeah, and go on local radio.
Which is how people did it before there was
Yeah.
online
Yeah,
to deal with
we're
it.
going to
Again,
go back to doing all that sort of
It
thing.
is. This is kind of specific in a way to our audience. This wouldn't necessarily work for
Younger artists.
younger artists.
Yeah.
In different genres.
Blue Sky is worth a mention at this point, very briefly. You've literally just created a Blue Sky.
Yeah, I have a follower. Actually, let's see. I might have another follower by now.
Yeah, this is a suck it and see, isn't it? To
Yeah.
try and see what it's like.
Yeah,
what
I've
the
heard good
difference is.
reports of
Yeah.
it. It's essentially it's what Twitter used to be.
I think
I'm
that
told.
was its. I think that was his raison d'être, wasn't it? To try and
Yeah, and when you
recreate
look at
a
it,
more
it
positive-
looks just. I mean, it looks very much like
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah. Okay.
It really does.
We can say Twitter because it's called X now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah,
that's
we're not.
fine.
Yeah.
We're not advertising.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody knows what it is, but
people are saying it's a more positive experience, so we're going to investigate that.
yeah.
And other, and that at the end of the day, that's a social media platform, so it is. Yeah, and no doubt it'll get screwed up at some point
I think
by
the thing
somebody.
is, to sort of sum it up, is you're not necessarily giving up social media, but you are rethinking how your online presence is,
Yes.
and for the people that will be interested in your music, how they will perhaps find you better and have a better online experience of finding you, as it were, without having to
Yeah.
go through the algorithm.
And
as it
also
were.
supporting other performers.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I think everything we're going to be doing is going to be positive on that front as well.
Yeah.
That's what we've always been about. That's personally as an act. That's kind of what we've always tried to do. Is, you know, it's a bit like we were talking about Denmark Street earlier.
Yep.
Right. If you want to buy a guitar, you'll go to Denmark Street because
Right.
you'll be X amount of shops there all
Yeah.
selling musical instruments. Tin Pan Alley, isn't it?
Yeah.
And on the face of it, like a shop would say, you know, somebody opening a shop would say, well, there's a music shop next door. What's the point of opening another one?
Yeah.
Because we're going to be in competition with each other. You've got two shops there. There are going to be more people visiting that
Yeah.
location to look for something that they want.
That's what happens in
That's
the
what
exact
happens.
precise situations.
And
like that, isn't
you've
it?
got
Yeah.
the same sort of thing with this sort of with networking. That's how networking works.
Yeah.
You know, if you work together,
Like
it generates
attracts like.
traffic and
Yeah.
generates interest and
that's
builds its own momentum.
At least a part of why Bluebell Roots came about in the first place, or Folk at the Old Oak as it was 9 years ago, 8 years ago,
Yeah.
9 years ago. It's been coming up in my memories on my social media. Really, weirdly, the first Folk at the Old Oak was in there, and then the first Bluebell Roots was in there. But the idea behind it was about bring people together, bring musicians together, showcase what they're doing, as well as, so rather than just being an open mic night, as it were, it was about having that opportunity to share a couple of songs if you want to, but also having an opportunity for an artist to showcase something a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where what we do, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
A sort of mix of the two.
Do you think that people, musicians, work a little bit too much in isolation
Yeah.
and don't share enough?
I'm not a musician, and I would say that that's absolutely the truth, because the time that I get better at playing guitar is when I play with other people. I genuinely, I might learn something on one day playing with somebody else that I will then spend months on, and it changes what I do.
Yeah.
The one song that I wrote and performed, it changed what I did. I then went into looking into other tunings and things like that, because that's how that had started. So that being together does definitely, like you say, it creates something new, and works very well. Now, with your designer heads on, you also mentioned to me earlier this other idea you have of perhaps essentially a listings website, but which is going to involve musicians kind of nationwide. What's the sort of thought behind that?
It's for folk and roots music, isn't it? Singer-songwriters. Basically a listings page where people can put on their events and everybody can find their events. But also listings for the performers, the venues, the festivals, the folk clubs. Yeah, and hopefully a bit of a chat going on between performers and venues. It's a networking site, basically.
Okay.
Music
Yeah.
listing and networking.
Yeah, we don't know yet. We have the idea hasn't really
It's
formulated.
just been
We'll
floated.
Germinating, yeah.
floated.
Yeah.
We'll probably
Run it
do.
up the flagpole, see.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, that's a really interesting discussion. I think we'd be really interested to hear from other people. You can comment underneath the podcast if you want to add your own comments to that. Actually, here on Mixcloud, if you're listening on Mixcloud, which you will be because it isn't anywhere else. Yes, but you can comment underneath and add your thoughts to it, and
follow.
we might even get back. Follow Bluebell Notes here on Mixcloud as well, and then you'll get a little notification. It's not, he's not going to be shouting at you or anything like that, but you'll get a notification when there's a new one. It'll appear in your Mixcloud feed if you regularly visit Mixcloud. Otherwise, we'll post links elsewhere too when shows are coming up. We're going to hear some live music now. We mentioned earlier Kilnamara, Jim and Emma, who performed. They do lovely Irish folk music.
Joyful stuff.
It is great stuff, yes. I recently saw them at the Wassail at Big Nose Beardy cider brewery, and they were performing up there. And it's great. This is Jim and Emma, Kilnamara.
They're called Out on the Ocean, the Kesh, and the Black Constant.
was lovely. It was
was
rather lovely.
lovely. Yeah,
Very,
really
very
good.
nice. Very quickly, 2nd of Feb, if this is out before then, Erica Olsen at Bluebell Roots in the kitchen at Bates Green Farm. The February and March Bluebell Roots are both going to be in the kitchen there. And then we're moving to Arlington Village Hall, as we mentioned earlier. That's happening from the 6th of April.
Yes.
So first Sunday
Correct.
of the month. And where can you find out about it?
bluebellroots.co.uk.
Brilliant stuff. We'll be back with another Bluebell Notes in around about a month's time, roughly, something
Yeah,
like that. I
something
mean,
like that.
Maybe sooner.
who knows? It might well only be in a couple of weeks. Yeah, we'll try and get together a bit sooner after it this time. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.